Good evening. Today we're holding daf. Today's daf is daf Yud Aleph. We're going to begin daf Yud Aleph. Daf Yud Amid Beis. This is on the bottom line by Lema. Okay. Now the Gemara says Lema Pchas Nevela. Shall we say that this we spoke about yesterday? If somebody causes a damage to the nizik or to the mazik. So the shaila is if there's a pchas in the nevela. Sorry, let me just explain again. If the nevela now there's a pchas in the nevela, so who suffers the loss? Is it the nizik or the mazik? So the Gemara says Tanoi Bama says a machlekes Tanoim. The Tanya we learned in the brisa. The brisa says this is in regards to a shemer sachar, a paid guardian, that somebody paid this shemer to watch the behema. And what happened was on the bottom, lema pchas nevela. Now, what happened? The Tanya, what happened was like this: a shemer sachar received money to guard a behema, and what happened was v'nitrafa. It was mauled. It became a treifa. So the pasuk says, "Im tarif yiveyu aid." It says that if it gets ripped off, yiveyu aid. The shemer sachar has to bring an aid. And then what? So now there's a machleik. Now we have a machlekes. Either yavi eidim shenitzrafa ba'inus. Either the shemer chinim has to bring an aid that the animal there was an oinus, because we know a shemer sachar is potter from oinus upater, and the shemer sachar is potter from oinus, as the pasuk says, umeis nishbar ein ra shvus Hashem tiyeh ben einayim, that for oinus a shemer sachar is potter. Now that's how the Tana Kama learned. Yaviu 8. He brings an 8 and he's off the hook. Abashol Emer Yaviu Aduda. Abashol says he should bring adud. He should bring, what does 8 mean? Meloshan Aduda, Meloshan Anevela. Aduda means an Nevela. You should bring the Nevela to Beis Din. In order that the Beis Din should evaluate how much it's worth. That's the machlekes. So again, you have a machlekes if the shemer sachar now, the shemer sachar now has to bring Yaviu aid. So what does that mean? So the Tana Kama says is that he brings aidim that it was an oinus and he's off the hook. Abashol says no. Aid is meloshen aduda, and he has to bring it to Beis Din. So for the Gemara, my lab it must be that the Tana Kama and Abashol are arguing that Mar Sover Abashol holds that pchas nevela the nisakava. Now, when there's a pchas in the nevela, who suffers the loss is the nizak, and therefore, if he was negligent and there's a treifa, he has to pay. So what does that mean? He has to bring the nevela to Beis Din to know how much is worth b'shas and misa, and this difference he has to pay. The mazik has to pay. Umar and the Tana Kama who do not darshan this word of aduda. So they hold that the pchas nevela is the maziku. It's the mazik, and therefore there's no bring to the Beis Din. There's no nafkamina how much is worth p'shas the misa, because the mazik has to pay for it. So the Gemara says, "Look, it's not the machlekes. The kulam, everybody agrees that when I say pchas nevela the nizik, that it goes on the nizik. Here the machlekes is who has to be matriach to bring it from the place of where it died. So Abashol is going to learn aduda, that he holds that the mazik has to be tereach to take away the nevela, and Tana Kama holds that no, it's the nizik. Now, the Gemara brings now a brisa like Abashol. Ve'atanya, we learned in a brisa. Achedim eimrim, they say minayim shal bal habed. Where do we know that the owner of the ox, the bal haber, the owner of the pit, that the sher died in this pit? So now, who has to take out the sher? So he says, "Menayin shal bala sher la'aleis sher mibreda." Where do we know that when a sher dies in a pit, so it's the owner of the pit that actually has to take away the sher? Tam leimer, that's what the pasuk says. Kesev yoshiv levolov, that he has to make restitution to the owner. In other words, that if his pit caused the ox to die, he has to pay for the death. V'hameis, and he also has to take out the mess. So Abai tells Rava, "Hi Teirech Nevela Hechidami." This that the Torah you're telling me from the word Vahames that he has to also take out the dead. How does that work? What's the case? If you're going to say that in the pit the shade is worth, let's say, 1 zuz. Ve'aguda, and when he's on the edge of the pit, shavi arba, so he's worth 4 zuzim, he's dead. The shaila is, how convenient is it to take the zuz? So guy says, okay, it's on the edge of the pit, it's easy to take out, fine, I'll pay 4 zuz. It's in the middle of the pit, that I'm not going to take out. Right, so it's a terach. So he says, I called him. Okay, so if you're going to say that when it's in the pit, it's worth 1 zuz, and when it's on the svasabur, shavi arba, it's worth 4. So then, why don't you have a pasuk? Ki tarach, this that he's taking out away the shade, but then he's saving himself because this the mazik he'll pay less. The bala ber has to pay for the nezek. So if you're going to say that the bala ber also has to remove it, that I need to have a pasuk. It's in his best interest to remove this share out because he says, okay, let's say the damage is 100. I'm able to save 4. I don't have to pay 96. So it's in his best interest. I don't need to have a pasuk. There's no chiddush for it. So Amalei, so Rabbi tells the word is like this. You should know we're talking about the bear. When the share was in the actual pit, it was worth a zuz. And v'haguda, and when it's on the svasa bernami shavi zuzah, it's also worth a. Right. So there's no point to take it out. So in other words, the mazik, the balash bar could say, listen, I'm paying for it. At least you get it. Now it's your problem. It's your ox. You get rid of it. The Torah says the chiddush is that levameis. Fine. Now, is there going to be a metzias that you're saying that the share is worth? Is there going to be a metzias that you're saying that when it's in the pit it's worth a zuz, and when it's on the svasaber it's worth less? You have, in order to get out the pit, to get out the ox in the middle of the pit, you're gonna have to hire a lot more workers. So Gemara says, yes, the hachi amri inchi. This is what people say. Kshuda b'masa b'zuzah. When you have a beam, which is in the city, and it's sold for a zuz. Kshuda b'davra b'zuzah. Also, when it's in the field, also it's worth a zuz. Even though you need to hire more workers to bring this beam. Now, after we learned that the nevela is shaykh either to the nizik, and the mazik has to pay only for the to basically pay what a living shur would be. Now the Gemara wants to judge in regards to a ganiv, a gazlan, a shayl. What's the din? Amar Shmuel says, when it comes to dayanim, ein shamin. We do not evaluate the nevela, or let's say if it's broken, so if a person steals, let's say he stole a behema and it died, or a klina broke, so we do not evaluate how much the chayfetz is worth now, and he has to pay the remainder to the bailam. Rather, he has to pay for the entire kli, or he has to pay for the entire behema. And the runes or whatever, that belongs to the mazik. Now, that's what he says. That ain't shaman le ganev v'le le gazlan. So when it comes to the ganev and the gazlan, we don't look at. He has to pay for what he stole. We don't care. We don't give him that leeway that he can pay the difference. However, l'nizokin. But when it comes to, let's say benizokin, so the mazik only has to pay the difference of a kli shalim. So let's say the guy broke a keli, and the keli was worth $100. Now it's broken, it's worth $25. So he says, here's your keli back, and I'm paying the difference of $75. And he says, af l'shayel, also for a borrower, the same halacha applies like l'nizokin, v'abba meideli, and Rav agrees to me. Now, they asked the shayla, hachi kamar, this that the Shmuel says, af l'shayel shaman, when he says that even for a borrower, we evaluate does Kinizikin Abba Moideli? Does he mean that Vanizikin and Abba agrees to me, Rav agrees to me? Or maybe he means to say and I'm saying that even when it comes to a shayel, ain't shaman of Abba Moideli, and in other words, that has the din of a ganev and a gazlan. Okay, so now the Gemara says, the Gemara is Paishet the Sufik. Toshma, you should know, Dahu Garba, the Shel, Narga, Mechaber. There was a person that borrowed a axe from his friend. And what happened? Tavra, this axe broke, and the guy was a Pesheya. He was negligent. He wasn't being careful. Yeah. So what happened? So Osla Kameh Rav, they came in front of Rav for a psak din. So Rav says, Zil Shlim Le Nagar Malya, go and pay him back a good axe. So Shema Mineh, what do we see from Ein Shaman when it comes to Asher? What happened? This person went ahead and borrowed the axe, and he was negligent, and he broke the axe. So what did Right. So what did Rav say? Rav didn't say give him back the axe and pay the difference. He said buy him a new axe. So the Gemara says Adram on the contrary, Mid'amar Le, from the fact that Rav Kana Rav Asi says to Rav, Dina Hachi, the fact that they ask a question, Dina Hachi, Vishosik, and he kept quiet. He didn't answer them. Mashma that he agreed to their question. Ushmami no shaman. We see that no by a shayl also we evaluate the shvarim, and he only has to pay the difference. Okay, now the Gemara brings a machlekes amaroim in Shmuel's words and tells us the halacha. Itmar was stated, Abashol Amar Rabbi Lazar, shaman the ganet with the gazlan. When it comes to ganet gazlan, we do evaluate. A puppy Amar Rabbi says ain't shaman, we do not. The halacha is ain't shaman. We do not evaluate the ganet the gazlan. By ganet gazlan, we not. Abba. L'sheil shaman. When it comes to the sheil, we do. Rav Kana and Rav Asi, like Rav Kana and Rav Asi, like the question of Rav Kana and Rav Asi. Now, Agav that we mentioned, the Ula in the name of Rabbi Lazar that we evaluate for a Ganav and a Gazlan, the Gemara now brings different halachas of Ula in the name of Rabbi Lazar. And now the first sugya we're going to deal with is the sugya of Safik Tuma Leida Ala Isha, which means to say like this. The Torah says that anytime somebody gives birth, you led this, even if no blood came out, let's say a cesarean or whatever, the halacha is like this. There's Yumei Tuma and Yumei Tara. Which means to say like this: if she had a nekeva, she had a girl, so the halacha is she counts 14 days of tuma. This is only Isa. She counts 14 days. That for the next 14 days she's tamei, and she's not allowed to have relations with her husband, and she's not allowed to touch tarais, etc. And when these 14 days pass Midei Isa, she goes to mikvah and she's tar. Then she counts 66 days. Shishim v'shisha. She counts 66 days of Yemei Toyer, which means that any dam she's going to see by Nekeva after 14 days, for the next 66 days, it's called dam tar. Now, that's if she had a Nekeva, if she had a girl. What if she had a Zachar? So the halacha is she counts 7 days of Yemei Tuma, and then 33 days is called Yemei Tar. Now, this is the case. This is a case of you have a woman that had a fetus, a uber inside of her, and it's called a shalya. It's called a embryo, a shilya. It's called an embryo. Now, sometimes the child is born over there and it dissolves in the embryo. Huh? They don't talk about twins. Right. Now, when this woman Nebach, she had a miscarriage, so the halacha looks at when she's mapped the shilya, when her embryo comes out, so we look at it like a birth, and she has Yemei Tuma and Yemei Torah. Now, what's the problem over here? I don't know if it's a Zachar in a cave. So what does she do? Does she count 14 days or does she count 7 days? That's what we're going to discuss over here. Omar Ula, Omar Rabbi Lazar says like this: Shilya shiyatsa miktsasa b'yem rishon u'miktsasa b'yem sheni. You had this woman that had a miscarriage, and her embryo, some came out on the first day, and some came out on the second day. So we're worried that maybe perhaps part of the shilya that came out on the first day was the majority of the vlad. And if I say that the Reiv HaVlad came out on the first day, that is considered Api Halacha the day that she gave birth. And therefore, Moinin law, let's say we have to go to Chumrah because we assume that it's a girl, and we say for 14 days she's Tameh, and where does this come from? Min Harishan. So all Taharas that she touched from the first day is a suffix if it's Tameh or not. Even if there's no blood that came out with the Shilya. That's the din. Shilya shiyatzim miktsas b'yim rishon and miktsas b'yim sheni meinin la min harishon. Why? Because I assume that the majority of the shilya came out yom rishon. That's what Ula says in the name of Rabbi Lazar. So Amalei Rava says, "My daitach. Why do you feel that she's tamei from day one?" Because l'chumra, I go l'chumra, and I say maybe Reva the Vlad came out on the first day. So Fred zokt Rava to Ula, chumra da asli de kulo. This is going to be a chumra, which eventually is going to be a kula. Why the komet taheres la merishin? Because if you start counting from the first day, so it comes out on the 15th day midiraisa, she's tar. Now it could be the Reva the Vlad came out the second day, which would mean on the 15th she's still tamei. So yeah, you're saying you go l'chumra that you count day one, but by counting day 1, that means day 15 she'll be tar. So and that's going to be a kula because maybe the Reva Vlad came out the second day. So Amalei Rava says lachush. We are worried that we're choishes that it came out on the first day. Chesheshes, however, and she's tamei. When it comes to tares, we say even on the first day the tares she touches tamei. Now, mimna, but when it comes to counting the 14 days, like mimna el l'sheni. So basically, we only start counting from the second day. So we're machmer, we're saying that let's say on the first day she touched tahares, it's going to be tamei, and we don't say that Reva Vlad came out the second day, but when it comes to counting, we start counting on the second day. Now, the question is, the question is, my kamashmalan. What is ulaming mechadish that we're choishish for tamei on the first day? The chiddush is the ein mikzah shilya b'lei vlad. You're saying that when a shilya comes out, when the embryo comes out, there must be a vlad in there. So the chiddush is that even if only a mixus of the shilya came out, we say for sure there's a vlad. So, but there's a suffix now if the Reva Vlad came out with that mixus, and therefore it's considered like a leda, or only a little bit came out, and it's not considered a leda. Why? Because if we're able to say that mixus shilya, that when a shilya comes out, you can have it's possible to try this like this. When you have mixus shilya that came out, are you assuming that there's a vlad or not? That's the discussion over here. So now, what comes out from here? That l'chayda. What's coming out from Ula's Chiddush is that whenever you have a mix of Shilya, you're saying it's a Vada Vlad. L'cheda, so what do you teach me? The aim mix of Shilya b'lei Vlad? L'cheda, we already know this. Why? Why does he have to teach me the aim mix of Shilya b'lei Vlad? L'cheda Tanino, it's a Befedish in Mishnah. The Mishnah says that when a person is shechs a behema, let's say a person shechs a behema and now found the uber in the behema. So, the halacha is shilya shiyatza miktsasa. If you have the shilya of a behema that part of it came out before the shechting, so the halacha is asura b'achila. You cannot eat that animal. Why? Because I say that the shilya is a siman of vlad be'isha. That for sure there's a vlad in the shilya of the woman and siman vlad behema. And therefore, when part of it came out before the shechita, since part of it came out of the vlad, we're worried that most of it came out and it will be considered like a leda. And we're not mata the shechita. And again, the only time we're mata the shechita, what happens? The guy shechs a behema, and then starts a few seconds later, an animal comes out. So does this animal need shechita or not? So it depends. If part of it came out, then you need shechita on the child. But if not, we say it's a chilik of the behema. So the cheda, we see from here that ein mixes shilya b'lei vlad. Why? Because that's why you can't eat the behema if part of it came out. Even if I say that majority didn't come out. So the Gemara says, if I want to learn out from the Mishnah, I would think the yesh mixes shilya b'lei vlad. That mikar din, if you have a shilya come out, you can have a possibility of a shilya b'lei vlad. And this that were aser, this is gzeira mitzvah atagula, make a gzeira. Therefore, he teaches us that the reason is that the reason why he's also is because and therefore, in the case of the woman that mixus came out, I say that she's tamei me safek. Okay, Now he says another din in the name of Ula b'Shem Rabbi Lazar. V'Omer Ula Omer Rabbi Lazar, he says, Al b'Cher. If let's say you have a firstborn of a person, child was born, he's a firstborn child, and Nebach shenitref b'Seish Toshim Yom. He was mauled, he was killed by a behema b'Seish Toshim Yom. He wasn't 30 days old. So the halacha is ein pidyon eisa. You don't give pidyon haben. It says in the Brayso, since the pasuk says Padei Sifta, the pasuk says Ach Padei Sifta is Pchar Adam. So I learn out from here. You would think, even if he gets mauled in 30 days, that's what he says. Ach, which is a chilik. They're not everyone's chayiv in pidyon haben. That if he gets killed with Yem, he's pater from pidyon haben. Omer Ulam Rabbi Lazar, another din.
What's the Hava Minas Yad? He's not around. The Bechor is not around anymore. So because he had a Bechor.
Why does he use the lashon, the double expression Padei Sifta? It's a funny expression. It's like a double expression. Padei.
He says the Hava Minas was given that he's gone. So therefore you should go. What are you raising up?
So he explains from the Nemuki Yosef that because the Torah uses the double expression Ach Padei Sifta, there's a Kfilas HaLashon. So I would think that there's nocha pidyon medarfton. What's that pidyon? Then maybe it was nitrav b'seich sheshimim. Yeah, he brings from the Nemuki Yosef. Okay, Shabbat Rabot, because you have the double expression. Okay. V'amar Ula Amar Rabbi Lazar behema gasa nochadin. You have a behema gasa. What's a big animal? What's an example of a behema gasa? For example, let's say you have a shade, you have an ox or a chamer or a donkey. So Allah is behema gasa, which is a shade, a chamer, niknas b'meshicha. So how do you clean it? Is by how do you say it? What? He's being meishach. He's drying it. He's meishach the behema from the reshus of the mecher. He's pulling it from the seller's reshus. For the Gemara, 1 second. But not now. If you remember, we just had in kedushin. The Mishnah says clearly b'mesira that a behema gas is nixes b'mesira. What does that mean? That the bailim give it over to the lekeach, and you don't need to have meshicha from the reshus of the mecher. So my answer is who the Omer ki Tana. Rabbi Lazar holds like this Tana. The time we learned in a brayse, Chomim Zoi v'Zoi, behema dak and behema gasa is niknas b'meshicha. Rabbi Shimon Omer behagba, not b'meshicha. Rabbi Lazar says like the Chachamim. Nachadin. Omer Ulam Rabbi Lazar ha'achin shecholki. You have brothers that are dividing the Yerusha of their father. So the halacha is Masha Alein, the begodim that they're wearing, that they acquired from the Yerusha of their father. Shaman, you evaluate. Because even the clothes have the din of chalukah, that they also divide the clothes. Now, however, mashal b'neim, when they say what's on their grandkids, that ain't shaman, they do not evaluate. Because like they're not, we don't want to embarrass them by coming to Beis Din, so therefore we say the grandkids' clothing, leave it alone. Our Papa says, Ba'amim af mashalein ain't shaman. Even the begodim that they're wearing, we do not evaluate. Mishkachas la, you find this case in Begoidel Achi, older brothers that are being involved, let's say in real estate and buying and selling. The Nechale, it's good, let's say for the older brother, to look very, very fine, to look good, Lishtamun Mine, in order that people's in other words, what are we saying? We're saying by the Begodim, we also evaluate to see what the worth is. By the Chalukah, they said no, sometimes also even with the Begodim, the brothers would rather have their let's say their brothers, the older brother, let's say, dress very nicely, so people take them serious. From here's an ayah that you have to dress well. People take you serious. Yeah, but we see that. I want to pub. Yeah, so we did that. Okay, next thing. Amar Ulam Rabbi Lazar, he says like this. Nachadin. Shemer shemosar l'shemer. You have a guardian, a shemer that gave a object to another shemer to guard. Now, the first shemer gave it to the other shemer without the reshus of the first guy. So the halacha is potter. The first shemer is potter. Because and giving the chayfetz to the second guy is not considered a pshia. And the Gemara says this: needless to say, in the case of shemer chinim shemos shemer sachar, needless to say, if a shemer chinim gave an object to a shemer sachar, and let's say the object was stolen or lost, that he's potter. Why? The aluye al yilishmrasi, because the fact that the shemer chinim gave it to a shemer sachar, he made the shmira better, and it makes a lot of sense that he should be potter. Alafilu shemer socher shemasel shemer chinam. Even a shemer socher that gave it to a shemer chinam, that we should consider it like a pesheya. Also, it is it's also he's not chayiv. The hashta gruya gai l'shmona. So the fact is, the shemer chinam, a socher that gave the shemer chinam, he's making the object worse. So the cher should be chayiv and einsin. We know. So he says nami potter also be potter and einsin. It's not considered psheya. Why shari moser the bendas? Because the fact is he gave it to bendas. Now Rava says the exact opposite. Shemer shemasel shemer chayiv. A shemer that gave it to another shemer is chayiv even in einis. Forget about the case of when the shemer socher gave it to shemer chinam, that he's going to chayiv. Why the gruye gar l'shmira? So he made the shmira worse. Even a shemer chinam that gave the shemer socher, which he was mile the shmira, nevertheless he's chayiv even ba'inus. Because the mafkid could tell the shemer, at mehem li b'shvua. You, I gave it to, I believe, with a shvua. And the second guy, I don't trust him, and therefore I don't want to have anything to do with him. Nochadin. Amar Ola Amar Rabbi Elazar Hilchos Halacha is like this: Goyvin min ha'avadim, that the malva that lent money and the leva can't pay him back, he can collect his choiv from avodim knanim of the leva. If the leva has avodim which are knanim, he can take those avodim away. Amar Rav Nachman le'ulos, he told him, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Afilo miyasmi, could collect the avodim even from Yisemim. Now, why? Because he holds that Eved Kanani is kekarka. Now, what's the din? The din is if, let's say, kids sold karka that had a lien on it from the malva can take it back, take it away. So now that this Yisemim have avodim, so the malva should be able to pull it away. So that's what he asked him. So Amalei Rachman Ula Amar Rav Elazar Afilu miyasmi. So Ula answered him like, no, minei, from the Levi himself. Why? Because he holds that only metalton because he holds only you can take from. You cannot take the avodim. Only yeah. So the Gemara says minei from the Levi could take away. In other words, that's what Rabbi Elazar needs to tell me, that you can take away the avodim from the Yisemim. I feel meglim dal kaspe. The halacha is you can even take away any even the garment from even the cloak from his body. So the Gemara says, what are you dealing with here? So apoitiki, that he made an apoitiki, which means apoitiki. He says to the malva that I'm paying you back the choiv. The choiv will be paid back from this eved. And what did he do? He sold the eved. So the halacha is the malva can go ahead and collect from the purchaser. And what's the chiddush? That the eved can make an apoitiki, and that the person can make an eved apoitiki, and he can collect from the lekuches, even according to him that has a din of metalton. Like Rabbi says, if the Levi made his eved apoitiki, he tells the guy, I'm paying you back dafka from here, and then he sold it. So Allah is bal choiv goive heimenu. The bal choiv could collect from him, collect from the eved which is by the lekech. But shade apoitiki mechari. If he made the shade an apoitiki and then he sold it, ain't bal choiv goive heimenu. The bal choiv cannot take from the share by the lekech. My time. What's the reason? What's the difference between an eved and a share? He says the eved that you make an apoitiki is the kola. There's a koil, and therefore the lekeach is careful not to buy it, because maybe somebody will somebody take it away from it. By the share apoitiki, less they call, there's no koil, and the purchaser is not careful not to buy it, and therefore it's not nice. It doesn't make sense to be mafsid the purchaser. Okay. Then he says, let's do a little bit more. The basher then after Rav went out, Amar lehu Ula told the people sitting to him, Hachi Amar Rabbi Elazar. This is what Rabbi Elazar says, that you can collect avodim afilim miyasvei, even the Yisemim that the father had a choiv. The halacha is you can take away the avodim. Amar Rabbi Nachman says, Ish tamtin Ula. Ula avoided me when I said that you can collect avodim from lekuches, because he said that you can only collect avodim from purchasers when you make an apoitiki. Why? So he was scared because he thought that I'm going to go ahead and question him with Shaila, so he avoided me. Okay, we'll stop here. Tomorrow, what's this? You guys are going to the parade?